Well, hello, and how are you doing today? I'm just so glad that you're here and you've joined me here at home. We're going to do some special things today. I've been receiving some mail, and the ladies said we like casserole dishes and we like chicken dishes. Well, we're going to supply both of those today by making something that our associate producer, Linda Wilson, you see her on the Open all the time, she gave me this recipe, and I'll tell you, it's one of my favorites. My family really likes it, and you're going to like it too. I'm calling it Linda's Chicken Supreme. Okay. But before we start, I have to tell you this little story because I was recently at church, and a lady came up to me, and she said, Arlene, I really enjoy your program. We watch it all the time, and I want you to know that I have been cooking for 42 years. Now, I have to tell you, this lady didn't look like she could have been cooking for 42 years because she didn't look like she's 42 years old herself. But anyway, she said, I've been cooking for 42 years. And she said, you know, when you've cooked that long, you kind of think maybe I've learned everything there is to learn. But she said, you taught me how to make fluffy mashed potatoes and lump-free gravy. Now, I have to tell you, that made me feel really good because that's what this program's all about. It's not gourmet, it's not fancy foods, it's just the foods that every day we're preparing for our families. And hopefully by doing this, and you can see how it's done, it will help you to do it easier, quicker, and tastier maybe. So I really appreciate that lady, and I thank her for those comments. And in just a minute, right after this helpful hint, we're going to come back and get started with not only this wonderful, wonderful Linda's Chicken Supreme, but we're going to do a cheesecake. Now, I've been testing in the at-home testing kitchens, which is really my own kitchen at home. I've been testing cheesecake recipes and developing one, and I think that we've hit on a really good one that's so easy. It's not one of these that takes hours to do. It's 1, 2, 3. And just that quick, we're going to be right back, and we're going to get started with today's recipes. See you in just a minute. Here's today's at-home hint. Roll a package of bacon into a tube before opening. This will loosen the slices and keep them from sticking together.
For updates, pictures, stories, and more, like us on Facebook. To watch hundreds of classic episodes, subscribe to us on YouTube. And to get hundreds of free recipes, visit ctvn.org/at-home.
Well, to get started today with Linda's Chicken Supreme, you need about 6 to 8 boneless chicken breasts. And, you know, you can buy them with the skin on, the bones in, and bone them and skin them yourself. But these we bought, and Foodland has a nice, good selection down there of chicken breast. And I try to cut, see this line of fat that is usually on there? We don't need that in there. So I just keep my kitchen shears very clean. And I just keep cutting that fat off, getting out as much of that as we can. And as many as it takes to cover the bottom of a 13 by 9 pan is what you're going to want to use, which is between 6 and 8. I have some done already. But we take the breast and usually cut it in about 3 pieces, depending on the size. Again, these are nice, large, plump, fresh, very fresh chicken breasts. Aren't they nice? You do one more here. And again, you want to cut off all that extra stuff there that we don't need, all that fat that's not good for us, not healthy, not needed. Just cut in there, and I tell you, some people use, our girl Lisa that works with me here, she's a chef, and you know, she helps me out. She prepares some of the stuff and helps me get ready for these programs. She's got knives that are like this long that look like they belong in the jungle with a machete or something. But I'll tell you what, she can handle them. But me, I said, I'm a frustrated sewer. Give me the scissors. It's easier for me to do that. So anyway, again, we're going to cut this into about what we call these serving pieces, because if you leave them whole, it's hard to get them out of the dish once you've prepared everything. All right, so let's begin. We're going to spray some Pam on our baking dish, and this is a 13 by 9. Now you can make this as large, and if you have a lot to feed, you can make as many of these dishes as you want, or one big pan full. But just be sure that you cover the entire bottom with chicken and kind of push them together, because you want to be sure that everybody gets a good portion when they're eating, this is one of these things that you can make ahead, you can put in the refrigerator, and then bring it out and you can cook it just as you need it. And you can spend your time with your guest and not have to worry about being, in the kitchen for so long. Most families, most kids like chicken, and I think your family will like this. This is one of these you think, if we made that for 4 people, who in the world is going to eat all that? Trust me, there will be no leftovers because kids will really enjoy this, as adults do too. All right, next what we're going to do is take Swiss cheese. Now this is natural Swiss cheese. And basically all you're going to do is just take your slices of Swiss, and if you like lots of Swiss, overlap them. Just, do whatever your family likes. If they like a lot, put a lot on there, okay? Now, I'm even going to cut some of that off. I need a knife. Let me get a knife here. I'm going to cut some of that off just to lay around the edges too, because we like a lot of cheese. And when this bakes, it makes, so you know how kids like cheese at strings? Well, this will be cheese at strings because there's lots of cheese in this. Okay, now you've got your boneless chicken breast, you've got your Swiss cheese over it. Next thing you're going to do is take 2 cans of cream of chicken soup. Okay, and you'll empty those into a container. Isn't it weird how this comes out like in one big lump? I think it's surprising. Okay, and this is just cream of chicken, not cream of rice or anything else, just cream of chicken soup. All right, get them all out of there. And we're going to add just enough water to make this start to get nice and creamy, because this is going to make the gravy. Let's start with that much. You just want to whip it. You don't have to heat it through or anything. Just start to blend it so that it gets creamy, because you don't want any lumps in there. We better put a little bit more water in there. You say how much? Nah, until it gets creamy. That's all I know. Can't tell you exactly until we see here. Okay. And the more you add to it, the easier it's going to be. A little bit more than that, Linda? A little bit more. Okay. A little lumpy. It doesn't matter? Okay. It will cook. Now remember, this is just going to keep flavoring, because this is chicken flavored, this soup too. Okay? And is that about right? Okay. Now we're going to pour this. Get that out of there. We're going to pour this over top of the Swiss cheese. We like it already, right? Because this makes gravy. This kind of, down south, they eat a lot of chicken with stuffing. And we all know what a pain that is to make if you're in a hurry to make stuffing. Well, this recipe, you're going to find out, you'll even have the stuffing with the chicken and the gravy all in one pan. And what's nice, it's a casserole that can be done ahead of time, and you don't have to keep playing with it, okay? All right, there we go. Now what we're going to do, you're ready with that. Let's get rid of this. Now we're going to take a bowl, and we're going to mix. You want to get the herb seasoned stuffing, Pepperidge Farm. This is what it is. It's herb seasoned stuffing mix. But we're not going to, normally you buy this at Thanksgiving time if you're in a hurry. But we're just going to take about 3/4 of the bag. Now, a little bit more. I'm really good on measurements. That's a joke. I'm really not good on measurements. I kind of go by how I feel. And there's a variety of spices and breads, because you can see there's some dark bread in there with the light bread. Then you take a stick of butter that you have melted, and all you're going to do is pour that over top of that seasoned herb stuffing mix. Okay. The smell of this is incredible too. Okay. Anything you put butter in just smells so good. And you want to mix this around. Make sure that the butter coats the stuffing. I guess it's better to do it this way. All right. Is this good, Linda? Am I doing good? Yeah, Linda's speaking to me from the sidelines, telling me I'm doing a good job. All right. Anyway, Once you have done that, then you just take this and you spread this all over the top of that gravy mix. Now, it doesn't seem like it's going to work, does it? But I'll tell you, we're going to put this in an oven. Do we cover this, Linda? No. We don't cover it. Notice how well versed I am on this recipe. I keep asking as we go along because she's my sidekick and she helps me with all of this. Okay, we just spread it out. There's butter in that. And we're going to put this in a 350-degree oven for about 35 minutes. You'll know just long enough for that chicken to cook through and that you can put a fork into it and it's good and tender. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven. Make sure, always, you make sure that your oven is preheated to the desired temperature, because if you don't, your timing will be incorrect and your food will not cook properly. It will start really slow. All right, now we're going to do an accompanying vegetable with our chicken dish, and it's called piselli. Now, I'm not even sure I know what that is. It's an Italian word, but it has peas in it, and I think peas are a nice accompaniment with chicken all the time. So we're going to we've got a couple of tablespoons of butter that we're going to melt in our skillet. I need to do a little housework here. Excuse me just a minute till I clean up, because we've got a mess going here. Okay, we'll put those out of the way. All right, so this is going to start to melt. Once this is melted, we're going to add our 1/4 cup of onion. Okay, we need to get this up a little higher. And it's nice to do your onion nice and fine like that, because as I always say, some people just don't like onion, but this is fine enough that you don't have a great big piece in your mouth that's offensive. So the finer you cut it, the better it is for this particular dish. All right, once that gets cooking for about a minute or two, when the butter gets nicely melted, then we take a 10-ounce package of peas, frozen peas. Now, I like the tiny little tender ones. As you can see here, these are very small peas, okay? And they should be thawed down a little bit, which these have been sitting out for a little while. Some of those great big peas have such a strong flavor that we don't really care that much for it. But these are tiny, tender ones. And if I have to buy in the can, which I don't very often like to, I buy the little les sœurs, or the tiny baby peas, because they just have a softer, delicate flavor. We're going to add the peas right in there with our onion and our butter. We're going to let them cook just for about 3 minutes, just until this all gets going. Okay. Now you notice we have not added any kind of seasoning, either to our chicken casserole or to these peas, and I'll show you why in a minute. One thing in the chicken recipe, the cheese is very salty, so we leave that to you to do that at the table. And there's also salt in with the breading, so you kind of adjust that as you go along. In this situation, because we're doing the peas with the onions and the butter, we're also going to add some little julienne strips of ham. Now, you can use prosciutto. That's an Italian ham that is very expensive. But we just decided we would use about 1/4 cup of ham strips. And we're going to let this just cook for about 3 or 4 minutes until those peas are nice and tender. Notice how the butter has gotten all over them because they've been cold when you put them in there, which is not too bad. Okay? And we're going to let those cook a little bit while we get started with our cheesecake. All right, I'm going to turn that down a little bit so that they'll cook.
If you love At Home with Arlene Williams, then subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have hundreds of episodes with all your favorite recipes, holidays, and friends.
Say hi to your fan club. Hi, fan club.
And don't forget to click the bell so you'll never miss another episode of At Home.
All right, now, as I said, we've been developing a cheesecake recipe that is quick and easy and tastes good. You know, what good is it if something is quick and easy if it doesn't taste good, nobody wants to eat it? There's not much sense in even considering that. But this one, I think we have a winner. And I hope that as you work on it, and you send for the recipes and you try it, and you like it, I hope you'll let me know what you think about it, okay? First of all, we're going to start with the crust, which is graham cracker crumbs. Now, this is going to make a cheesecake this large, okay, this size. If you don't want one that size, you can half the recipe and do it in a small 8-inch round or square cake pan and just cut the slices and serve it from that. But I like the spring type form pans because I think it just, if you go to the trouble of making it, somebody should say, oh, look how pretty that is, or boy, does that look good. And that's what we're striving for here. So I've got a couple of cups of graham cracker crumbs, and you can buy the graham crackers and take the rolling pin and roll them out. You get the same effect as this. And to that I'm going to add some powdered sugar and some cinnamon. Now we're making our crust here, okay? Better get me a spoon here. And what we're going to do is mix those up real good. Okay? We need to do that really, really well. I like the taste of cinnamon in this crust with this. You don't very often find that. To that we're going to add some melted butter. And really, you know, this is an easy crust even if you don't want to make a cheesecake. Sometimes, remember, you know, my dad's a pastor. When I was a teenager, missionaries used to come and they'd stay at our house, and this is when I was putzing in the kitchen, so I used to make graham cracker crusts all the time because they were easy, because I had not perfected the other type of crust yet. And so we had a missionary from the Philippine Islands who every time he came to the States had to come by because I'd make him a banana cream pie with graham cracker crust, and that was his favorite. So you can use this just to make a cream pie. This same crust, you could put it in a pie plate and use it and bake it to the same amount of time. It's such an easy crust if you have not perfected the other type. In fact, to tell you the truth, I always tell you about my mother-in-law, what a wonderful cook she is, but Paul would rather have a graham cracker crust than a flaky crust. Can you believe that? And his mother makes the best crust I know. All right, so we're just going to spread this with your hand. I guess you could do it with a spoon if you had to, but just, you get a better feel for it when you do it with your hand. And you press it and press it, trying to make it even and level the whole way around the edge of the pan. Okay, you don't want any crumbs sticking up, because what happens when you put the filling in there, then the crumbs will go up the side of the cake. So you kind of press it down. That's all it is to that crust. We'll bake this for 5 minutes in our 350-degree oven. 5 minutes. Let me see here. I better do that one so I make sure I know. There we go. Stir the peas, make sure that they don't burn. Boy, they smell wonderful. That little bit of onion in there, that's a nice treat. Okay, let's make the filling now for the cheesecake while the crust is baking. And this is just your regular chunks of cream cheese. You can use the low fat or the light cream cheese. It all works perfectly fine. I know Linda sometimes uses that when she's making her cheesecakes. And you have 3 packs for this recipe because that's a big cheesecake pan. So you're going to have a lot of cheese in that. And what I like to do is kind of get it started. I like to just blend it a little bit to get it all together before I start adding ingredients. This is the basic foundation for most cheesecakes, is cream cheese, better known as Neufchâtel, or Philadelphia cream cheese is probably the best known, the Kraft Philadelphia cream cheese. But any of those cheeses you have to have cheese for a cheesecake. And I read a lot of cookbooks, I've been searching around, and I think, like I said, I think this is one of the easiest. So we're going to take our cream cheese, and we're going to add sugar. This is about 2/3 of a cup to 3/4 of a cup. And you can adjust the sweetness. Once you make one, you say, that's a little bit too sweet, or, oh, that needs, write that on your recipe. So the next time you make it, you'll know, oh, I need to add a little bit more. Okay, what I found is when you have some of the basics, you can vary some of the flavorings and the seasonings for especially a cheesecake, and it won't affect the outcome of it. So we want to beat this very well. Of course, the cream cheese, don't even think about doing this if you don't have it at room temperature, because if you do, you'll have major problems. Mostly it'll be flying out of the pan. That you don't need. So incorporate the sugar very well with this. Then we're going to start adding eggs one at a time. You say, well, can I just dump all 4 of them in there? No. That doesn't work. You mix them in one at a time because this is what will make it creamy. Okay? And you'll see the change begin immediately in the way the cheese starts to look. And it's going to get fluffier instead of heavy and dense. You'll notice that it really gets fluffier as we go along. Now, you don't have to do this for 10 minutes after each egg, but you do have to do them separately because it does make a difference. Just until it's blended in. Okay. The important thing too is to scrape down the sides, because if you don't, you'll have some there that has not gotten the egg mixture. See the big chunks of cheese? You have to do that because the cheese tends to stick to the side of the pan. Okay? So you want to be sure that you get that incorporated in with those eggs. Okay. So far we've got 2. We go with another one. You always check and make sure it's a good fresh egg. Don't just dump it in there thinking, oh, it'll be okay. Sometimes it's not. Okay, see how nice and creamy this is getting? And it's changed the color too. With those yolks, it makes it yellow, more yellow. Now I have to tell you, 4 eggs in that size of a pan is not much, because when I was researching recipes, one cheesecake called for 11 eggs. I said, nah, we can't do that one. That's too much. Okay? All right, so basically, we have everything in here. We're going to put a little bit of vanilla. Vanilla is a good flavor. We're going to put that in there, just about a teaspoon. Okay? Because that adds to the flavor of the cheese. Okay? Now, I think at this point, we have everything in there, all right? Let me see how many minutes. We're almost done. I think we can bring this one out. Get my pot holder here. Because I think it will just, it says only 5 minutes. It's been in there about 4. I think it'll be all right. Okay, chicken's coming along good. And some people say to cool this, but I didn't cool it because you're going to put it right back in the oven and heat it right back up, so it's not going to hurt this one bit. All right? Then you take your filling, okay, and you're going to you stir it from the bottom, make sure that it's all totally mixed well, and just pour it over your crust. I'll tell you what, it gives you a good feeling when you do that. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but it's like a feeling of accomplishment, like, boy, look at that, I'm making a cheesecake. Now, I have to be perfectly honest with you. I've not made a lot of cheesecakes in my time, but I knew that this was something that I wanted to do because I wanted to show you that it could be easy. Now, I think this is pretty easy, isn't it? I mean, this is an easy recipe. Now, what you'll do with this cheesecake, we'll put it in the oven, and we will bake this for 30 minutes or until a knife inserted in the very center comes out clean, okay? Okay, I hear the beeper. I'm going to set it again. Okay, and we're going to put this in the oven. And we're going to go for 30 minutes. Now, let me tell you what we do at the end of 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, you take a cup of sour cream, you take about 1/3 of a cup of sugar, and you take a little bit of nutmeg, and what's that other thing in here? A little bit of salt, okay? You mix that together, and you bring it out of the oven, and you pour that over the top. Put it back in the oven for 10 minutes, bring it out, let it come to room temperature. When it comes to room temperature, you take the spring off of it, put it in your refrigerator, and you leave it there for at least 6 hours. So this is a dessert, do it the day before, just like the chicken can be done the day before. Then we bring it out, and you can serve it immediately because it's good and thoroughly chilled, and it tastes so good with a little bit of blueberry topping, fresh strawberries on it, some raspberries, whatever you want. We'll be back in just a minute. Here's the way you can get today's recipes.
To get all the recipes from today's show, plus hundreds of others, just click the link in the video description or visit our website, ctvn.org/at-home.
Well, here we are at the dining room table. I wanted to show you that this is what our Supreme Chicken, Linda's Chicken Supreme, looks like. Nice and crusty on the top. And you cannot believe the flavor and the taste of peas. I believe your family will really enjoy them. They're so good and so different. And I wanted to cut this wonderful cheesecake. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven and is chilled. Of course, you put a little bit of Cool Whip or whipped cream on it. But this cheesecake, I'm telling you, is absolutely delectable. And you can see the texture of it. I'm going to cut a piece and serve it just so you get an idea of what it's going to look like. Because you wouldn't bake this every day, but you would certainly bake this on a special occasion, like for a birthday or for, come on out here now. We're on television. There it goes. Look at this. You see the texture of that cheesecake? Let me show you from the side. Is that wonderful? Nice and creamy. And of course, if you didn't want to go with the fresh strawberries, if they're not in season, some delicious blueberries or black raspberries or raspberries. We're going to put a little dab on the top here just to give it some more tasty fruit flavor. This is your cheesecake, my cheesecake, I'll say it that way. And it's so easy to do. Please be sure to send for recipe 117 because it's there, all the directions. It's not hard, just try to do it and do it special for your family. But most of all, be sure to join us the next time because it just wouldn't be the same without you right here at home. We'll see you then. Bye-bye now.
Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you'll never miss another episode of At Home. Thank you for watching.
Fresh produce provided by Jordan Banana, wholesalers of fresh fruit and vegetables in Dravosburg, PA. Cookware provided by Woolies. Your favorite gourmet deserves the best for less at Woolly Balcony Cookware. Groceries provided by Foodland, where the answer is always yes. Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.